Welcome back, everybody, to the deep dive. You guys know how this works. You send us all your questions, and we take a look at them all and bring you the most interesting and important information.
We basically take a deep dive into all that info you send us.
Yeah, we sort of clear out all the noise and try to make sense of it all.
Right.
So today, we're going to be diving deep into something you carry around with you everywhere you go.
Oh, yeah.
Your gut. We've got research articles and news stories and some of your own personal notes all about gut health.
Seems like gut health is super important for pretty much every part of our health these days.
It really does. Okay, so let's unpack this a little bit. When we talk about gut health, are we really just talking about all those trillions of bacteria that live in our digestive systems? I mean, that number is just crazy.
It is a huge number, like more than all the stars in the Milky Way.
It's wild. So beyond helping us digest our food, what else are all these little guys doing down there?
That's a good question. You know, it's really easy to think of our gut as just like a food processing plant.
Yeah.
But the gut microbiome is way more complex than that. It affects our immune system and even our mental health.
Wait, really?
Yeah, and that's where things get really interesting. You know, there's a direct link between your gut and your brain.
So my gut is like talking to my brain.
Yeah, it's called the gut-brain axis. It's pretty cool.
I had no idea. How does that even work?
So basically, your gut and your brain are having a conversation all the time through the vagus nerve. It's like a super highway for communication between the two. And because it's a two-way street, that means what's going on in your gut can affect how you feel. It can even affect your sleep.
Oh, wow.
And then what's going on in your brain can affect things in your gut, like digestion and inflammation.
So like when I get butterflies in my stomach before I have to give a presentation, that's my brain talking to my gut.
Exactly. And it works the other way around too. For example, people who have IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, often have issues with their gut microbiome.
Oh, right.
And those changes in the gut can actually send signals to the brain that can cause anxiety and depression.
That's kind of scary. I mean, I always knew gut health was important, but I had no idea it was connected to so many other things in the body.
It's true. And the more we learn about it, the more we realize just how important a healthy gut is for basically everything.
All right, so we've got trillions of bacteria in our gut, and they're talking to our brain. What about all this stuff about probiotics and prebiotics? I always get those mixed up.
Yes. The dynamic duo of gut health.
What is the difference?
Okay, so think of probiotics as the good bacteria, like the heroes of your gut.
Oh, okay.
And you can find them in fermented foods like yogurt and kimchi and sauerkraut.
So they're like the reinforcements for our gut army.
Yes, perfect analogy.
Yeah.
And every army needs supplies, right? That's where prebiotics come in. They're what the probiotics eat.
Okay.
So it's actually a type of fiber that the good bacteria love to munch on, and it helps them to grow. You can find prebiotics in things like garlic and onions and bananas and asparagus.
So probiotics are the heroes and prebiotics are the fuel.
Yeah. It's all about maintaining that balance. You need both the good guys and what they need to survive.
I like that. So speaking of maintaining balance, there are a lot of myths out there about gut health. Like, is spicy food really bad for you? And are all fermented foods good for your gut?
Oh yeah, lots of myths out there.
Maybe we should do some myth busting.
Let's do it.
All right, first one. True or false, eating spicy food will mess up your gut? I've had some pretty bad experiences after a super spicy meal, so I'm gonna guess true.
That's a common myth.
Yeah.
But actually, unless you have a condition like GERD or IBS, spicy food isn't going to hurt your gut.
Really?
Yeah, and you know that stuff that makes chili peppers hot, capsaicin?
Yeah.
It can actually help with inflammation.
Interesting. So maybe my Vindaloo nights weren't so bad after all. Okay, next one. True or false, all fermented foods are full of probiotics?
It's a tricky one. It's actually false.
Really? I thought they all had probiotics.
A lot of fermented foods are great for your gut, but some of them go through processes like pasteurization that kills all the bacteria.
So how do I know which ones are good?
Stick to things like miso and tempeh and kefir. Those are all great sources of live probiotics.
Got it. Okay, last myth. True or false, artificial sweeteners are bad for gut bacteria?
What do you think?
I'm gonna say true.
You are correct. Artificial sweeteners can really disrupt the balance of your gut microbiome. And they can actually make you crave more sugar, which isn't good.
So maybe I'll skip the diet soda and just have a glass of water.
That's good to me. It's all about making these small choices that can make a big difference for your gut in the long run.
It sounds like we've learned a lot already, but I'm sure there's still so much more to learn about gut health.
Oh yeah, we've barely scratched the surface.
Okay, so we're back and ready to learn even more about this amazing world of gut health. We've already talked about how important the gut microbiome is and that connection between the gut and the brain. We've even busted some myths about gut health.
Right. It's fascinating stuff.
It really is. So, where do we go from here? What else should we know?
Well, we talked about how the gut talks to the brain, but did you know that your gut is also super important for your immune system?
Oh, yeah. I knew there was a connection there.
Yeah, about 70% of your immune system is actually located in your gut.
Wow, 70%. That's a lot. So what does that mean for our health?
Well, it means that a healthy gut is essential for a strong immune system. Your gut is kind of like the first line of defense against all those bad bacteria and viruses that are trying to get into your body.
Oh, okay.
And a healthy gut microbiome helps create a strong barrier in your gut lining that keeps all the bad stuff from getting into your bloodstream.
That makes sense. So if the bacteria in my gut are out of balance, does that mean my immune system is weaker?
Exactly. When you have too much of the bad bacteria and not enough of the good bacteria, it can definitely weaken your immune system and you're more likely to get sick.
It's crazy to think that something so small can have such a big impact on our health.
It really is.
So taking care of our gut is basically like giving our immune system a boost. I like that. What other connections to gut health have we not talked about yet?
Well, we briefly touched on skin health earlier. There's actually a strong connection between what's going on in your gut and the health of your skin. It's called the gut-skin axis.
Oh, wow. So all those times I blamed my breakouts on eating too much chocolate, maybe it was actually my gut that was the problem.
It's definitely possible. When your gut is inflamed, it can actually cause inflammation throughout your whole body.
Oh, wow.
And that includes your skin. So you might see things like acne or eczema or rosacea if your gut is not happy.
So taking care of my gut could actually help clear up my skin. I'm learning that everything is so interconnected.
It really is. It's all about taking a holistic approach to your health, looking at the whole picture.
This is all super interesting, but it also feels kind of overwhelming. I mean, there's so much to think about when it comes to gut health. Where do I even begin?
I know it can seem like a lot, but just remember that even small changes can make a big difference. You don't have to change your whole life overnight.
Okay, that makes me feel better. So we talked about eating more fiber and staying hydrated and managing stress. What are some other simple things people can do to improve their gut health?
One thing that a lot of people don't think about is chewing their food properly.
Chewing.
Really?
I know it sounds simple, but digestion actually begins in the mouth.
Oh, right.
So when you chew your food really well, you're breaking it down into smaller pieces, which makes it easier for your gut to digest.
Okay.
And this can help prevent things like indigestion and bloating.
Yeah, I'm definitely guilty of not chewing my food enough sometimes, especially when I'm in a rush.
I think we all are.
So I'll try to be more mindful about that. What else?
Getting enough sleep is super important too.
Wait, sleep affects my gut health.
It does. There's a strong connection between sleep and the gut microbiome. When you don't get enough sleep, it can really mess with the balance of bacteria in your gut.
And that can lead to inflammation and other digestive problems.
So getting 7 or 8 hours of sleep is not just good for my brain, it's good for my gut too.
Okay, I'll try to remember that. What other tips do you have?
Well, we talked about fermented foods earlier.
Right, like yogurt and kimchi and stuff like that.
Yep. Those are all great for your gut. Adding a variety of fermented foods to your diet can introduce more of those good bacteria into your gut, which can really help with creating that healthy balance.
That makes sense. What are some easy ways to add those to my diet? I don't really have time to make my own kombucha.
It doesn't have to be anything complicated. You could just add some yogurt to your breakfast, or have some sauerkraut with your lunch, or maybe a glass of kefir in the afternoon. Even small things like that can make a difference over time.
Okay, I can definitely do that. I'm starting to realize that taking care of my gut doesn't have to be super complicated.
It really doesn't.
It's more about making small changes that I can stick with. Exactly. It's about finding what works for you and building healthy habits that you can maintain for the long term.
But this has been a really interesting deep dive so far. We've talked about how the gut is connected to our immune system and our skin and even our sleep. It's amazing how much our gut affects everything, but I feel like we're not done yet. Is there more to come?
Oh yeah, for sure.
All right, so we're back for the final part of our deep dive into gut health. We've learned a lot about how important our gut is for our overall health and well-being.
Yeah, we've talked about the gut microbiome and how it affects everything from our brain to our immune system to our skin.
It's pretty amazing how much is going on in there.
It is.
But before we wrap up this deep dive, you mentioned some potential long-term consequences of not taking care of our gut. Like, what happens if we just ignore it? Is it really that bad?
Well, we've been focusing a lot on the positive aspects of gut health, but it's also important to understand the negative side of things. More and more research is showing that if your gut microbiome is out of whack for a long time, it can actually lead to some pretty serious health problems.
Oh, wow. Okay. So we're not just talking about a little bit of indigestion here and there. What kind of problems are we talking about?
We're talking about chronic diseases like obesity and type 2 diabetes and heart disease.
Oh, no.
Even some types of cancer.
So an unhealthy gut can actually contribute to these diseases.
It seems like it can. The research is still ongoing, but there's a lot of evidence that suggests that when you have chronic inflammation in your gut, it can actually affect your whole body.
So that's why it's so important to take care of our gut. I mean, it's not just about feeling good, it's about preventing serious health problems down the road.
Right. And, it's never too late to start making changes. Even small changes to your diet and lifestyle can have a big impact on your gut health.
Okay, good. Because this has been a lot of information to take in, but it's also been really fascinating to learn about this hidden world inside of us.
It really is fascinating.
So before we sign off, any final words of wisdom for our listeners who are now hopefully feeling inspired to take better care of their gut?
I would say listen to your gut, both literally and figuratively. Pay attention to how your body feels when you eat certain foods or when you're stressed.
Right.
And remember, small changes can make a big difference. You don't have to do everything perfectly all at once.
I love that. Listen to your gut. That's great advice. Well, thank you so much for taking us on this incredible deep dive into the world of gut health. I know I've learned a lot.
You're welcome. It's been my pleasure.
And to all of you listening out there, we hope you've enjoyed this deep dive too. Remember, a healthy gut is a happy gut, and a happy gut means a happier, healthier you. So until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.